Before we dive in, remember this. Stories like this don't just chill your spine, they reveal the world you're never meant to see. If you want more true crime tales that peel back the darkness, subscribe now, because what you're about to hear might stay in your mind long after the screen goes black. Rain hammered the cracked pavement of East Tremont Avenue the night everything began to unravel. New York City's streetlights flickered like dying candles, casting long shadows over the alley where the body lay. Detectives said the scene looked like a message, the kind written not in ink, but in fear. And floating somewhere in that silence, like an echo gripping the city's throat, was one name: Marcus Rain Calderon. Rain wasn't just another street boss. Even before that night, his legend already moved through the Bronx like a whispered threat. Some said he built his empire before he turned 20. Others said he didn't build it at all. He conquered it. But everyone agreed on one thing: if you crossed him, you disappeared. Detective Lena Serrano knew the second she stepped under the yellow tape that this case wouldn't end clean. The air smelled of rain and iron. The victim, a mid-level crew runner tied to Rain's organization, was left neatly against the brick wall, hands folded like someone had staged the scene with deliberate precision. But what caught Serrano's eye wasn't the body. It was the symbol sprayed next to it. A crown dripping crimson paint. A warning. A promise. Or maybe both. But while the streets buzzed with rumors, Rain himself wasn't running. He wasn't hiding. He was sitting calmly in a dim apartment only 2 blocks away, listening to police sirens like someone enjoying background music. To him, the city had always been a chessboard. And right now a pawn had fallen. At least, that's how it looked. But when the detectives knocked down his door just before sunrise, Rain didn't blink. He didn't protest. He simply raised his hands, already anticipating the cold steel of the cuffs. "You're under arrest for the murder of Luis Mendez," an officer barked. Rain only smirked. "If you're calling that murder," he said quietly, "you haven't seen the game yet." His confidence bothered Serrano more than the crime scene ever could. Most criminals begged. Some fought. A few stayed silent. But she had never arrested someone who looked like he expected to be taken, as if the walls of Rikers Island were just another place to expand his reach. Within hours, Rain's mugshot spread across every news station. Commentators called him a rising kingpin, the new face of organized crime in New York. But those who had crossed paths with him before whispered something else, something darker. "He doesn't break," one confidential informant told the detectives. "He just adapts." Still, the evidence was overwhelming. Witnesses, messages, motives, and the crown symbol, which prosecutors described as Rain's signature. This wasn't a case that needed months of digging. It was airtight, too airtight, and Serrano felt it. When Rain was transported to Rikers Island, the guards acted like they were escorting a ticking bomb. Floodlights washed over the notorious complex as the gates clanged open. Even from inside the transport van, Rain stared at the razor wire with a strange calm, as if walking into a place most men feared was simply a new throne waiting to be claimed. But Rikers had its own rules, its own politics, its own kings. And the second Rain stepped into the intake corridor, he felt eyes on him, not fearful, but calculating. Inmates whispered his name like a rumor drifting through the stale air. Some respected him already. Some wanted to test him. And at least one person inside, someone with their own agenda, wanted him gone before sunrise. Back in the city, Serrano reviewed the crime scene photos for the 10th time, her instincts gnawing at her. The symbol was too perfect. The timing was too convenient. And Rain's surrender? It didn't feel like guilt. It felt like strategy. Something about this case didn't add up. And as she traced the details again, a chill shot through her. A phone buzzed beside her, displaying a message from an unknown number. "You arrested the wrong king." Serrano's pulse spiked. She stared at the message, replaying Rain's smirk during the arrest, the way he looked at her like she was already a step behind. Then her phone buzzed again. Look in the victim's pocket. The message ended there. No name, no number, no trace. Serrano grabbed her coat and ran for the evidence room, a knot tightening in her chest. If there was something inside that pocket, something the team missed, the entire case could flip. She pulled the evidence box open, breath unsteady. The envelope, the folded fabric, the small metal object. But when she opened the final item, her blood froze. Because whatever she found inside the victim's pocket changed everything. Detective Lena Serrano stared at the small metal object she had just pulled from the evidence bag. Under the harsh fluorescent lights of the precinct's evidence room, it looked cold, insignificant. But she knew better. It was a badge. Not a police badge, but a correction officer's badge from Rikers Island. Old, scratched, and on the back, engraved so faintly she had to angle it toward the light, were 2 words. For Rain. Her stomach twisted. Was it planted? Was it a warning? Or was someone inside Rikers waiting for Marcus Rain Calderon's arrival, not to stop him, but to help him? The thought sent a chill down her spine. Meanwhile, miles away, the gates of Rikers clanged shut behind Rain as he stepped deeper into the maze of concrete hallways. The place stank of sweat, bleach, and desperation. Guards barked orders, phones rang endlessly, and somewhere far off, a fight slammed against metal bars. To most inmates, this was a nightmare. To Rain, it was a new battlefield. A guard nudged him forward. "Welcome home," the man grunted. But the tone wasn't mocking. It wasn't threatening. It sounded almost respectful. Rain didn't respond. But inside, he already knew the badge Serrano had found wasn't a random clue. It was a signal. Someone in here, a guard, an inmate, maybe both, had already aligned themselves with him. Someone had prepared for this moment. His arrival wasn't a downfall. It was a transfer of power. He stepped into the main unit, and the noise dropped. Eyes tracked him from bunks and tables, the way predators watch a new challenger. Some recognized him immediately. Others only recognized the way the room shifted around him, the silent gravity of someone dangerous. In the corner sat Devin Switchblade Marsh, a man who ruled his block without raising his voice. When he stood, the entire unit seemed to inhale at once. Switchblade approached Rain slowly. "So the king finally walks into the island," he said. His voice was calm, almost conversational, but the tension around them tightened like wire. Rain met his stare. Didn't come to play court jester. A moment passed. Then another. Then Switchblade smirked. "Didn't think you did." He motioned toward a table, an unspoken invitation. Not an order, not a threat, a recognition. Rain accepted it. Far away, Detective Serrano replayed the messages from the unknown number, her instincts screaming. Someone was manipulating this case from both the inside and outside. Someone knew the victim. Someone knew Rain. Someone knew her. She called the tech unit. "Trace those texts. I want pings, backups, anything." "Already tried," the tech replied. The messages bounced through 3 offshore servers. Whoever sent this knows exactly what they're doing. Serrano clenched her jaw. This wasn't just a murder. This was a setup. Or maybe a ritual of power. She flipped through the crime scene photos again. The body placement. The folded hands. The crown symbol. Every detail looked crafted, staged, like an invitation to a story the detectives were never meant to control. Back at Rikers, Rain leaned forward at the table while Switchblade observed him carefully. "You walked in here like you already owned the place," Switchblade said. "You expecting backup?" Rain gave a slow smile. "Backup? No, but I do expect a message." "What kind of message?" Before Rain could answer, a guard approached the table. A slip of paper rested in his hand. He didn't look at Rain, didn't speak. He simply dropped the note beside the kingpin and walked away. Switchblade raised an eyebrow. Rain unfolded the note. A single sentence stared back at him. "Your pawn is gone. Next move." Rain exhaled softly. The message wasn't a threat. It was an invitation. Switchblade noticed the shift in his expression. "Someone playing games with you?" Rain folded the paper slowly. "No. Someone is finishing what they started." Before Switchblade could push for more, chaos erupted at the far end of the unit. Guards sprinting, inmates shouting, alarms blaring. A stretcher was rushed through the doors, medics shouting orders. Rain and Switchblade stood as the commotion drew closer. And when the stretcher passed them, Rain saw the face. Bruised, bleeding, barely conscious. It was the informant who had testified against him. The same man who claimed he saw Rain kill Luis Mendez. Serrano received the call minutes later. Your witness was attacked inside Rikers. She tightened her grip on the phone. Attacked by who? We don't know, the officer said. But that's not the worst part. What's worse than that? He was carrying this. A photo pinged onto her screen, a small card with a crown symbol, just like the one at the murder scene. Serrano's pulse spiked. The case wasn't unfolding. It was accelerating. Someone wasn't just manipulating the investigation. Someone was eliminating every piece of evidence, one by one. And Rain, sitting calmly in Rikers Island with a message in his hand and chaos at his feet, whispered the words Serrano feared most. The game has begun. The storm outside the city grew heavier as Detective Lena Serrano stepped into the Rikers Island administrative wing. The fluorescent lights flickered, casting long shadows down the hallway. She had seen crime scenes, gang wars, political cover-ups, but nothing unnerved her like this case. Every clue felt planted. Every witness was vanishing. And every road led to the same name whispered in fear. Rain. 2 guards escorted her toward the interview block. One of them, an older officer with tired eyes, glanced at her. You sure you want to talk to him today? Things are bad. Inmates moved like they were waiting for something. Serrano swallowed. That's why I need to talk to him. The guard shook his head. Just be careful. Everyone feels watched. He wasn't wrong. Even the cameras buzzing overhead felt more alive than usual, as if someone behind the glass was studying every movement. When Serrano entered the interview room, Rain was already seated, hands cuffed, back straight, calm. The same calm a lion has before it decides to kill something. You've been busy, Rain said, not looking at her. Running from crime scene to crime scene. You must be tired. How did you know about the second attack? Serrano asked softly. He didn't smile, but something in his eyes burned. Because it wasn't an attack. It was a message. Someone's clearing the board. You mean your gang? My gang. Rain chuckled, a low, unsettling laugh. Detective, if you think I'm the one pulling the strings right now, you're already losing. Serrano's jaw tightened. A man is dead. Another is barely alive. Both connected to you. Rain tilted his head. Connected to me, or connected to whoever wants me here? That question froze her more than any threat could. Then a loud buzzer screamed through the building. The lights flickered. A guard's voice echoed through the speakers. Unit C is in lockdown. All personnel stand by. Serrano jumped to her feet. What's happening? Rain leaned back. Chapter 3. What? You wanted the truth, he said slowly. Now it's coming for you. Before she could respond, the door behind her swung open. 2 officers rushed in. Detective, we need to move you. Now, what's going on? She demanded. There's been another assault. Inmate identified as Devin Marsh. Serrano froze. Switchblade. Rain didn't move, but for the first time something flickered in his expression. That doesn't make sense, he murmured. They rushed Serrano down the hallway as alarms blared and guards sprinted past them. When they reached the end of the corridor, she saw medics loading Switchblade onto a stretcher. His neck was bruised, his face swollen. But it wasn't the injuries that chilled her. It was what was clenched in his fist. A card. The same card found at the murder scene. The same card the injured informant carried. The same symbol, the crown. Serrano whispered, someone's trying to erase everyone who knows the truth. The medic shook his head. He kept mumbling something before he passed out. What? One name. Rain. Serrano glanced back toward the interview room, but Rain was already standing at the small window, watching everything with a cold detachment. 20 minutes later, the facility went eerily quiet. No alarms, no shouting, just an unsettling stillness settling over every hallway like dust. Serrano marched back into the interview room, slamming the door behind her. 3 assaults, 3 symbols, 3 people tied to your case. What did you do? Rain raised his cuffs slightly. "Detective, I'm chained to a table." "But you knew," Serrano said. "You knew something was coming." "I knew someone was moving pieces," he replied calmly. "But they're not my moves. They're someone else's." "Who?" she demanded. Rain leaned forward and whispered, "The person who built me." Serrano went still. His mentor. The one no one had ever identified. The ghost figure behind Rain's rise. "You think he's behind this?" Serrano asked. Rain exhaled. He always said prison wasn't a cage. It was a kingdom. Before Serrano could press further, her phone buzzed. A single new message. No number. No contact. Just a sentence. Rain steps aside. "The crown needs a new king." Her heart jolted. "Rain, someone's coming after you." "No," he said softly. "Someone's coming after you." The lights cut out. Darkness swallowed the room. Shouts erupted in the hall. Boots thundered. A sound like metal bending echoed through the walls. Serrano grabbed her flashlight. Its beam shook against the door. "What's happening?" she shouted. Rain's voice came from the darkness, low and steady. "Detective, you're inside the board now." A crash hammered the door. Serrano stumbled back. Someone was trying to force their way in. Another crash. The hinges buckled. Serrano turned to Rain. "Who is it?" His answer was a whisper. "The next king." The door blew open. A shadow filled the frame. And then, cut to black. 3 months later, a new case file slid across Detective Serrano's desk. A body found in a warehouse. Hands folded. A crown carved into the floor. The final line of the preliminary report made her breath hitch. Suspect believed to have gang connections originating from Rikers Island. She whispered the words she feared most. They thought the king was behind bars, but the kingdom moved on. She stared at the case file, pulse rising. And whoever's next is already watching. If you think this story was intense, you're not ready for the next one. Hit subscribe so you don't miss it.